My 22F friends, 22F parents, 50s, are blaming me for the death of their daughter, and they don't want me at her funeral. How do I talk to them? Rosie and I grew up together since kindergarten in a conservative area, and she has pretty conservative parents. Rosie was very introverted when I met her. It took weeks for her to talk to me in a normal volume. In contrast, I was a very loud and outspoken child, and over the years it rubbed off on her. Her parents are very nice people and have never said it to my face, but I know they thought/think I'm a bad influence on her. We were in the same school until we were around 14, when she moved away and we lost contact for a while. Neither of us had smartphones back then. We would email every month or so, but she had very limited computer time as well. When we were 18, we got into the same college and reconnected. Although we don't see each other often because her studies are very demanding. We weren't as close as before, but we still talked a couple of times a month. I still considered her an important friend. 2 years ago, she got her first boyfriend, Darius, and it was obvious she had never been happier. I had never met him in person, but have only heard good things from her. Her family knows about him and approves of their relationship. But around 2 months ago, she found out that he had been secretly filming their intimate activities and posting it on adult sites. He did not censor her face, and he had amassed a not insignificant number of followers from these videos. She was mortified and heartbroken, but did not want any of their mutual friends knowing, for fear that people IRL could potentially search and see those videos. Since their social circles are very intertwined, she had no one to confide in, and I was one of the few people who knew. She stressed that her parents could not find out. They were under the assumption that both her and Darius were Christians and were saving themselves for marriage, and if they did, they would likely cut her off financially. Her mutual friends with Darius did not know what happened, just that she dumped him and it didn't work out. She was very depressed and feeling like Una living afterwards, and having dealt with depression and similar thoughts myself, I took her out almost daily to check on her and so that she could have someone to vent to. Her other friends noticed she was down, but she attributed it to dealing with the breakup and the stress of impending exams. I don't know what the exams are supposed to be called in English, but it's something like the bar exam for lawyers. It's a big deal. The day she died, I went to pick her up from her dorm for dinner, but she didn't answer her phone or the door. She lives in a single room. I don't want to go into the details, but I was the one who found her. She didn't even leave a note. I had to call her parents and tell them about it. When they came, her mom started shouting that I was a bad influence, that I gave her depression, and implied that I drove her to uninstall herself. I heard through the grapevine that Darius told her parents they were only on a break and were working things out, and he has been comforting her parents and helping organize her funeral/memorial. I am disgusted. I want to tell her parents, but I don't want to tarnish Rosie's memory. I also don't think her parents will believe me. I am not invited to her funeral, and I am wondering if I should go anyways. I want to see her one last time, but I'm afraid I might cause a scene if I go. I also haven't cried once since the incident. I think I may still be in shock. I am waiting for the grief to hit me, but it still hasn't yet. I feel like I'm supposed to be traumatized, but all I feel is numb. I don't know if this is the right sub for this, but I'm looking for advice on whether to go to the funeral, whether to approach her parents or confront Darius, and if so, how, and I guess just how to navigate this whole situation emotionally. Please let me know if this is the wrong sub to post in, and I will post elsewhere. And I know Reddit is the first to suggest therapy. I'm on it. I can't afford individual therapy, but I'm on a wait list through my university's mental health program. I don't have an exact timeline for when I expect to be seen yet. TLDR. My friend Rosie, 22F, recently committed uninstallation. Her boyfriend of 2 years, Darius, 22M, had been secretly filming them having intimacy and posting to adult sites. Her parents, 50s, think I'm a bad influence on her and gave her depression/made her uninstall herself. They don't want me at her funeral. Darius is still involved in her funeral. Edit. I tried replying to all the comments, but got a bit overwhelmed. Thank you all for the advice and hugs. I want to clarify a few things and share what I've decided so far. Thanks to all your help. Rosie deleted all the videos she could find when she found out, and we talked mostly in person. I have some texts from her saying how betrayed she felt and how exhausting it was keeping up appearances and pretending to be fine, but nothing concrete. I have decided not to go to the funeral. I want to respect her parents' wishes, and it probably wouldn't end well anyways. I'm working on finding out who else Rosie told. She said she only told 2 other high school friends. I did some IG sleuthing, and I believe I found one of them. I sent a message asking to talk about Rosie, but she hasn't responded yet. After the funeral, I want to tell Rosie's parents part of the truth, so they can have some closure and kick Darius out of their lives. I want to punch his face in, seriously. I hope to enlist the help of Rosie's other friends who have more credibility with her parents. So far, I'm thinking of telling them that Darius filmed her in the shower without her consent and posted them. That way it's 90% the truth, and I wouldn't have to reveal that they had intimacy. I will leave the decision to pursue things legally up to them. I will still try to reply to comments, but I need a small break for now. Talking about this is pretty mentally draining. Thank you all again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're in a very difficult situation and should probably be seeking advice specifically for the proper way to handle this within your culture. In some cultures, it would be appropriate to honor your friend's wishes that her parents never know about what happened, while in others like mine it would be right to seek out truth and justice. OP. Thank you. I did not consider cultural sensitivity. I will ask my parents and other trusted adults. OP needs to report this to the police. OP. I don't know how I would go about reporting this. I don't have any evidence, as she deleted all the videos she could find online and physically. How do I bring this up to them? Will they even take the case? I may also have to ask for legal advice in my country, but please let me know, if you have experience, how I would go about making a report on behalf of a deceased person with little to no evidence. Commenter 2. The friend didn't leave a note, and this shady guy is being really helpful. I don't like it one bit. Maybe I watch too much true crime, but something smells fishy. If she was going to go to the police, that's motive. OP. Personally, I don't think the guy had anything to do with it. She was pretty depressed, and I believe she could have done it herself. She lives on campus in a girls' dormitory that has a security guard and does not let any guests in unless accompanied by the student themselves. They made an exception for me because we told the guard she was dealing with mental health issues, and I was allowed to go in to check on her daily. We also gave them Darius's specific photo to let them know not to allow him to enter. I think he is just trying to keep up appearances as the charming, sensitive guy we thought he was. Also makes for a good sob story, as someone above mentioned, but I will look into it to see if it is possible to report him. Commenter 3. I don't think you'd be dishonoring her legacy by telling her parents the truth. You would be protecting it and her parents from Darius. I agree with another commenter that his helpfulness and the lack of a note do not add up. Almost no one doesn't leave a note. I would go to the police. In the US, sharing adult videos without consent is a crime in some states. OP. We are not in the US, but it is a crime here as well. I am going to seek legal advice after replying to all the kind people here. Commenter 4. Depending on where you live, Darius could be charged with causing her death. I would seek advice from law enforcement. In most places, it's not legal to secretly film someone like that and post it. Since that directly lead to her death, it's possible he could be charged, but you'd need to have some sort of proof. Even text messages or something between you and your friend, and then let them investigate. OP. I don't think I have enough proof. Her having deleted everything she could find when she found out makes it hard for us to get proof now. I wish she would have kept the evidence, but I can't blame her at all for being emotional in the moment and not thinking clearly. Update 1. Hey, just wanted to write down my thoughts and update anyone who was wondering about how things went after Rosie's funeral. Some info that is relevant to this update. Rosie and I grew up in religious families, but both deconverted around high school. She wasn't religious for the duration of her relationship with Darius, but her parents believed she was still Christian. I know firsthand how damaging purity culture can be, and that was why Rosie did not want people, and her parents in particular, finding out about her having had intimacy, even if it seems normal for most college students. Also, I said in my last post I was very loud as a child. That was true. I was feisty and kinda obnoxious. But my personality did a 180 in high school when I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Now I am introverted and do not have many close friends. Update. I reached out to Rosie's high school friend Maggie, who I believe she also confided in about the Darius incident. Rosie had also told Sophie, another high school friend. The three of us swapped stories and ended up reaching out to Gwen, Rosie's best friend in college. Gwen was doing an exchange program overseas at the time of Rosie's death, and she had no idea all this had been going on. Rosie had been telling her everything was fine and that she broke up with Darius but didn't want to talk about it, and that it was mutual. We decided to tell Rosie's parents an abridged version of the truth. We told them she was filmed in the shower instead of during intimacy, because we felt that where we go from here is ultimately their decision and we shouldn't make it for them. Gwen is on good terms with her parents and met with them to tell them in person. Thankfully, they believed her right away. With Rosie's parents' blessing, Gwen blew up all of their group chats telling people what Darius had done. She also spread the abridged version. Within a couple hours, Darius's ex Nora, 21F, from about 3 years ago, reached out to Gwen to say that she had also been filmed without consent and was too scared to say anything before. Nora made an official statement with our school, and the school is investigating Darius. Nora and Rosie's parents have also went to the police. Nora had more solid evidence against Darius, so hopefully they will convict him. Unfortunately, this meant we had to come clean about what Darius had actually filmed. Rosie's parents weren't as mad as I feared and didn't hold our abridging the truth against us. There's no verdict as of now. The legal system works surprisingly slowly. And personally, I suspect Darius will get at most a slap on the wrist because his parents are well off and well connected. On the bright side, his social reputation is completely ruined. Most people trusted Gwen and Nora's statements and gave Darius hell. He took a leave of absence from the school, and he will likely have to go to college overseas if he ever wants to graduate, because everyone in their major knows about it now. Some alumni from their field even caught wind and got involved. It's really very chaotic. I've asked Gwen not to involve me in any of this, besides giving the police any evidence I have, and maybe being called to witness, of course, because my mental health has taken a huge hit from all of this, and I don't have the energy to keep up with all the details. I have asked her to give me any significant updates, though. Personally, I'm doing as well as one can after all this, which is to say I'm struggling, but hanging in there, and depressed but not feeling like uninstalling. Thank you for all your condolences in the last post. A few short personal updates from me. Rosie's parents. After Gwen told them, they reached out to me and asked to apologize in person. I didn't want to see them, so we agreed to a phone call instead. They apologized profusely for lashing out at me. I forgave them. They didn't know what was going on. I was hurt, but they had just lost their daughter and were understandably very emotional. I probably won't have much to do with her parents going forward. I didn't see them very much before, but I am glad to have resolved this misunderstanding. The funeral/memorial. Gwen was not able to sit down with Rosie's parents until after the funeral. She also had to miss it because she was still overseas at the time. We waited until she came back, so sadly I missed it. Rosie was cremated, and her parents gave us, Gwen, some of the ashes. Gwen took Maggie, Sophie, and I to her in Rosie's favorite spot on campus, and we set up a picnic there. We spread some of her ashes there, had a moment of silence, and started swapping stories about Rosie and her life. I had my first real cry after Rosie left, maybe 3 weeks after her death. It was very cathartic and hopefully the first step to healing. Therapy. I told my parents about everything, and they helped me find a therapist with a shorter wait list than the ones in school. I did an intake session, and I can expect to be seen in as little as 2 weeks with a therapist that specializes in grief counseling. In the meantime, I went to some support groups with Maggie, Sophie, and Gwen. I personally don't think it worked for me, because every time I talk about it, it's like reliving the whole experience for me, so I will stick to therapy. Sophie and Maggie are still going to sessions. What next? My semester is almost over, so I'm trying to tough it out until then. I've told professors in my department about Rosie. They've heard about what happened, and they've been really kind, and I've been given extensions on most of the work I missed. I'm not sure if I will be going back to school next semester, or if I'm taking a break to recover mentally from all this. Maggie, Sophie, Gwen, and I have bonded over the shared trauma. Rosie had a pretty consistent taste in friends. LOL. We will be keeping in touch and leaning on each other. That's about it for me. Thank you if you've read this far. Typing this out helped. TL, DR. Darius is under investigation by the school and by law enforcement. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Oh gosh. Take care of yourself. You've certainly been through the ringer. I'm glad you go point the apology and realization they were wrong. Now you need space and time to heal. OP. Thank you. My main goal was not to get an apology, but I appreciated the closure I got. No hard feelings towards them. I absolutely cannot imagine losing a child. Commenter 2. Sometimes a public shaming is more brutal than prison time. The internet is forever. As you said, he's dropped out of school and won't be able to get a job in his chosen career, and I suspect many people will make sure he can't find decent work elsewhere. People still bring up Brock Turner all the time and share his image. Hell, he was added to a law textbook, IRC. I think he does have a job, but it's not a great one. I haven't seen anything recently about him. He goes by his middle name now? I'm sorry about the loss of your friend. I wonder if your country has revenge video laws? Maybe you guys can work towards getting it out on the books if you don't? I'm sure there are plenty of people who are willing to help. OP. I'm glad people are willing to believe Rosie and Nora. Sometimes people don't believe victims, especially with a person who is as good as faking being a kind person like Darius was. Yes, we do have revenge adult video laws. Rosie's parents are handling it right now, and I haven't been involved.